All right, Kirk Herbstreit still has the Dogs as his number one team in the country, which is not surprising coming into the final look at college football playoff before we get to rivalry week, which will change, the top two and three probably, excuse me, the two of the top three, with Ohio State and Michigan playing one another. Georgia at one for Kirk, Ohio State two, Michigan three, Texas Christian at four, then LSU, and then USC. My presumed seven for Kirk is Clemson. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think off the top of my shit. I'm not sure you could have anybody else at seven. Um, and Clemson's got there's a lot of work that's got to be done for them to kind of wiggle their way into this thing. And of course, they have to still win their games. Georgia can go 1-1 and get in. I don't think anybody else can. Of course, the loser of Michigan Ohio State won't have the capability of playing another game. So, we're really at the moment here where this thing can get settled down in a very big way. Um, but uh, as we saw a week ago, these teams are a bit living on the edge. I mean, certainly TCU is. And I think things went about as well for USC this past week as they could. Now with Notre Dame hanging out there, I mean, that's a really challenging game for the Trojans. I mean, that's a really challenging game. The two teams with the easiest games this week are LSU and Georgia. I mean, going to Texas A&M at night is probably. I mean, it sounds way worse. And there was nobody at the A&M game this past week, y'all. Just nobody was there. And of course, it looks now like rain in Athens because we've not had enough weather this year so far in all of these games. And when we had the Tennessee downpour in the second half, the freezing cold in state, the frigid cold in wherever we just were, Lexington, and now we're going to have rain in Athens. I mean, it's just one thing after another these last 4 weeks, now 5 weeks. So it's just a lot. And I'm not a fan of the rain, but I think it doesn't, people sometimes say, "Hey, the rain can equalize things." No, not in this case. I don't think. Certainly not a team like Georgia Tech that's got such a long, hard struggle to score. But yeah, I think this is the way I would have it myself. I'd go Georgia at one, Ohio State two for now, Michigan at three, TCU at four. I think the issue there, if you're trying to replace TCU with LSU or USC, the challenge there is, Texas Christian's not lost a game. And LSU's wins over Alabama and Tennessee, you know, they both have a collective four losses now. So, SC is one play from being undefeated. Now they've saved themselves. I think they saved themselves at Oregon State, if I'm not mistaken, but they lost at Utah. I think the challenge. So if USC wins, they're going to get in the playoff, and here's the reason why. First of all, they will have lost one game on the not the final play of the game, but essentially the final play of the game. Okay, that's on the road against Utah, a team that's going to be a top 15 team. There's nothing to be ashamed of losing to Utah. Not in that league. Utah's a good team. That's why I was so surprised to see the Gators win that game. Um, I think LSU's got one way in. It's going to be tough to beat Georgia in Atlanta. I mean, they're going to be a 15, 16-point dog in Atlanta. It's tough to beat Georgia in Atlanta. Ask the Jackets. TCU's got to continue to win out, but I think the real challenge here. I mean, we have a cluster here, and let's include Clemson in this real quick, okay? Georgia would have to lose to Georgia Tech and LSU to not get in. So that's one spot that we think is going to be taken. We're going to give the Ohio State-Michigan winner the Big Ten championship. That's spot number two. After that, you're looking at five teams for two spots. LSU can quickly get eliminated by losing to Georgia. USC can get eliminated by losing a game. Texas Christian, I think I just said that. Well, TCU can get eliminated in theory by losing the game. They're undefeated. And then you've got the backup of the Ohio State Michigan game, and you also have Clemson hanging around. I think the challenge for Clemson is their path to the playoff got a lot harder because of Georgia Tech beating North Carolina. I mean, if you had a 12-1 or the 11-1, who is Clemson's best win? I mean, like, if I'm just trying to go through this now, uh, does Clemson have a win in the top 25? Surely NC State won't be ranked. I mean, right? And that was a clown show to begin with last week. I don't see any Florida State. Okay, so Florida State would probably be their best win, which is not a bad win. It's just not a top 10 win. And so USC is going to have um, a win over Notre Dame. In the scenario I'm talking about, USC would have a win over Notre Dame that Clemson would not have. Now, it's in California that they're going to play, but you get my point. And then you just eye test the thing. You just eye test the thing. I mean, the SC is going to have, in that scenario, a win over Notre Dame, UCLA, and the Pac-12 championship, possibly against Oregon. I do not know the ruminations of the Pac-12. I cannot keep up with their championship criteria. It's just like the Big 12, and it does confuse me, I will say. But I think, Clemson's still hanging around out there, but they need a lot of help. I mean, they need they got to win too. I mean, they should beat South Carolina. I expect them to, but they're going to have to win these games. And I don't, I mean, they just not. Last week was the best game they've had lately. I mean, when you look back at their situation, I mean, they did not play well against Boston College. The win over Florida State, I think, was probably going to be their best win of the season. They should have lost to Syracuse. Yes, I said it. They got beat by 3 touchdowns by Notre Dame. They played okay against Louisville. I think that was an adequate win. And then they played well against Miami. They definitely played well against Miami. I don't think that. I mean, South Carolina making an appearance in the top 25 is not out of the question. But if they lose to Clemson, they'll be right back out. And then, of course, you got the North Carolina game, and we're just going to see where Carolina is ranked in this thing after a dismal loss to Georgia Tech. That just cannot happen. If you're entertaining the notion of playing for a national championship, it would be hilarious too. I'm seeing these comments by Dabo about Tennessee. I don't know. I've not confirmed. I mean, I didn't watch the press conference. If that's what he really said about Tennessee, I wonder if he understands that they very well could play Tennessee in the Orange Bowl. And we saw the last time that guy yapped his mouth one too many times heading into the postseason. What happened when that was Ohio State taking out all of their frustration on Clemson. They beat their skulls in. It was bad. I think sometimes it's best to say a little bit less when you're Dabo Swinney, but he wouldn't be Dabo unless he's chirping, a bunch. And woe is me, stupidity that he runs out there. It's not a good look. But I don't think we really got to be concerned with Clemson at this stage. We'll see. But Dabo's point about Tennessee is not incorrect. I just don't think he's the one that should be saying it. I mean, you're not going to be able to sit around and hope that something goes well for you. You need to be playing in these championship games. And when you're not, that's what I would worry about if I were Ohio State and Michigan, is that I'm not playing the loser of that game. I'm not playing on that Sunday. And it gives everybody the capability to capture the imagination of the rest of the country. I do not trust this committee at all. I think they're not. They've proven with a couple of different things that they just don't know what they're doing. To have Georgia, who was clearly the best team in the country, I think at that moment, be at number 3 behind Tennessee and Ohio State to start the season because of resume. I mean, and then, this is kind of picky, but having NC State ranked last week after losing to Boston College, it was just insane. And there's just no excuse for that. These guys, it's not a good look for the committee. I do not trust this committee at all. The committee changes. It seems like the rules change. It should be the best 4 teams. Clemson is not one of the best four teams. I don't know that LSU is one of the best four teams. But right now, it looks to me like Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia are three of the best four teams. I don't know that they're all three going to get in because, we go to merit based things. I mean, would TCU beat Alabama? I don't think so. Um, but none of these are Georgia's problems. I mean, you walk off the field as a 12-0 team coming out of this league with a win over Oregon, a decisive win over Oregon, and you are going to be in the playoff. This is not Georgia's problem. That you got to handle business against the Jackets on Saturday. Won't be a problem to think about. But that was Kirk Herbstreit's top six. Tell me what you think down below. Thanks for watching.